Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Jefferson nickel coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we've got something special in store for you, so make sure to stick around until the end. We're diving into the history, design, and potential value of a coin that many might overlook, the United States 5-cent coin from 1972. This little piece of American history could be worth a lot more than you think, and we'll reveal its astonishing worth later in the video, so stay tuned. The 1972 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the nickel, is a familiar sight to many of us. We've all likely come across one of these in our spare change at some point. But did you know that some of these seemingly ordinary nickels can carry an extraordinary value? The year 1972 marked a pivotal time in American history, and this coin, though often considered just a common piece of currency, has quietly gained the attention of collectors around the world. Now, before we dive into its value, let's take a closer look at the background and design of the 1972 nickel. The coin is part of the Jefferson series, which has been in circulation since 1938. On the obverse side, you'll find a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and one of the Founding Fathers. The portrait was created by renowned artist Felix Schlag, and it has been used on the nickel for decades. Jefferson's likeness is seen in profile, exuding the strength and dignity of the man who played a key role in shaping the nation. On the reverse side of the 1972 nickel, you'll find a depiction of Jefferson's famous home, Monticello. This design has remained a hallmark of the nickel since it was first introduced. Monticello, which is located in Virginia, symbolizes the legacy of Jefferson and his contributions to American history. The design is a perfect blend of historical significance and artistic representation, making the 1972 nickel a cherished collectible in its own right. But what makes the 1972 nickel particularly interesting to collectors? It all comes down to a specific variation of the coin that has intrigued numismatists for years: a rare and valuable error. While most 1972 nickels are worth just their face value, a small number of these coins were minted with a unique characteristic that makes them stand out: a doubling of the date on the obverse. This is known as a 1972 double die error, and it is one of the most sought-after varieties of the Jefferson nickel series. In the case of the double die error, the 1972 date appears to be double imprinted on the coin, with the numbers overlapping and giving the appearance of being thicker or blurry. This happens during the minting process when the die strikes the coin more than once. This error is incredibly rare, and only a small number of these double die nickels were produced. As a result, the value of these coins has skyrocketed in recent years, attracting the attention of collectors and investors alike. The rarity of these error coins is the key factor in determining their value. While a standard 1972 nickel is worth only 5 cents, the double die version can fetch an extraordinary price. In fact, one of these coins in mint condition has been known to sell for up to $62,000. That's right, $62,000 for a single coin. For those lucky enough to own one of these rare error coins, it represents a significant windfall. Now, let's talk about how you can spot a 1972 double die nickel and what makes it so special. The most obvious feature to look for is the doubling in the date. If you carefully examine the 1972 on the obverse of the coin, you should be able to see a noticeable doubling or doubling effect on the numbers. The most common areas affected are the top of the 7 and the bottom of the 2, where the doubling is often most visible. If you find one of these coins, you might want to get it professionally authenticated and graded to determine its true value. In addition to the double die error, there are also some other key factors that can affect the value of a 1972 nickel. Coins in better condition, particularly those with minimal wear and tear, are generally worth more. Coins that are graded as uncirculated or mint state can command higher prices due to their pristine condition. Coins with fewer imperfections and well-preserved details are always in high demand among collectors. If you're out there hunting for rare coins or you've got a collection of nickels from years past, it's worth taking a closer look at your 1972 coins. While the vast majority will be worth only a few cents, it's the errors, the unusual varieties, and the well-preserved examples that can make a world of difference when it comes to their value. As we wrap up today's video, I want to remind you that coin collecting is an exciting and rewarding hobby, but it also requires patience and a keen eye for detail. Whether you're just starting out or you've been collecting for years, there's always something new to discover in the world of numismatics. So, the next time you come across a 1972 5-cent coin in your pocket change, don't just dismiss it as another ordinary nickel. It could be the key to unlocking a hidden treasure. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for, the value of a 1972 double-die nickel in mint condition could be worth an astounding $62,000, that's right, $62,000 for a single coin. It's incredible to think that something so small, so simple, could hold such a significant value. If you happen to find one of these rare pieces, make sure to handle it with care and consider getting it professionally appraised. You could be sitting on a small fortune. Top 2, we've got something truly remarkable to talk about, the United States 5-cent coin from 1973. At first glance, this may seem like just another nickel, but wait until you hear about the surprising value it can hold. Stick around until the end because you'll be shocked to learn how much this coin could be worth. Let's start with a little history about the 1973 nickel. The United States has been producing 5-cent coins, also known as nickels, since 1866, but the 1973 version has an interesting place in the long history of American coinage. It's part of the Jefferson Nickel series, which has been in circulation for decades and is still in production today. The Jefferson Nickel has undergone various design changes over the years, but the 1973 version features the same iconic design that many collectors and casual coin enthusiasts recognize. On the front, or the obverse side, the coin features the profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. This design, created by artist Felix Schlag, has graced the nickel since 1938. Jefferson was a key figure in the founding of the nation and, in addition to being president, was a principal author of the Declaration of Independence. His portrait on the nickel is a symbol of the country's deep-rooted values of freedom and independence. Flip the coin over, and you'll find an image of Jefferson's beloved home, Monticello. This depiction of the plantation house is an iconic symbol of Jefferson's life and legacy. The building was designed by Jefferson himself and was a reflection of his architectural genius. The Monticello design on the nickel remains one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. While the 1973 nickel is often thought of as a simple, everyday coin, there's something about this year's issue that makes it particularly interesting to collectors, especially when it comes to the coins that contain certain rare minting errors. While most 1973 nickels were minted without issue, a handful of them feature a very special characteristic that makes them worth a lot more than their 5-cent face value. This particular variation is known as a doubled die error. It occurs during the minting process, when a die used to strike the coin makes multiple impressions. This results in certain areas of the coin being doubled, which can be particularly noticeable in the date and the letters. If you carefully examine a 1973 nickel and notice that the date, for example, looks like it has 2 layers or a slightly blurred effect, you might have found a double die error. And trust me, this error is what sets these coins apart from the rest. The presence of a double die error on a 1973 nickel makes it incredibly rare, and this rarity significantly boosts its value among collectors. While a regular 1973 nickel is worth just a few cents, a double die version in good condition can be worth thousands of dollars. Collectors will go to great lengths to find these error coins, as they're a unique piece of American numismatic history. In addition to the double die error, there are other factors that can influence the value of a 1973 nickel. Coins that are well preserved, free from scratches, and in near mint condition tend to be worth more. Coin grading plays a big role in determining a nickel's value, and coins graded as uncirculated or mint state are highly coveted. So, if you come across a 1973 nickel that looks especially well preserved, it might be worth a second look. But how much are these rare 1973 doubled die nickels worth, you ask? Well, here's where it gets really exciting. Depending on the condition and the quality of the doubling error, a 1973 double die nickel can fetch an astounding price. Coins that are in excellent condition and show prominent doubling in the date and lettering have been known to sell for up to $61,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $61,000 for a single coin. It's hard to believe that a small piece of change could be worth such a hefty sum, but that's the beauty of coin collecting. It's a hobby that's full of surprises, and you never know when you might find a hidden treasure worth a small fortune. If you've got a collection of nickels or you happen to come across a 1973 nickel, take a good look at the date and the overall condition of the coin. It might just be your lucky day. So, what should you do if you find a 1973 nickel with a possible doubled die error? The first step is to carefully inspect it. Look at the date and check for any noticeable doubling or blurring. If you think you found an error coin, it's a good idea to have it professionally authenticated and graded. Numismatists and coin dealers can help verify whether it's truly a valuable error coin, and they can also help you understand its exact market value based on its condition and rarity. It's also worth noting that, aside from the double die error, 1973 nickels that are in pristine, uncirculated condition can also be worth more than the typical 5-cent face value. Whether or not the coin has an error, coins in mint condition are always in high demand from collectors, and they're more likely to fetch higher prices in the market. Coin collecting is a hobby that offers both the thrill of discovery and the joy of owning a piece of history. If you're just starting out or if you've been collecting for years, there's always something new to learn and explore in the world of numismatics. Whether you're hunting for rare error coins or simply looking for well-preserved specimens, there's always a chance that the next coin you find could be a hidden gem. So, remember, next time you find a 1973 nickel, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, especially at the date, and keep your eyes peeled for that rare double die error. Who knows? You could be holding a coin worth an impressive $61,000. Top 3. We've got something truly exciting to talk about, a coin that's a bit newer than some of the classic rarities, but still holds a tremendous value for collectors. We're going to dive into the world of the 1991 United States 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson Nickel. This coin may look like any other nickel in your change jar, but trust me, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Stick around until the end, because you'll be stunned by how much this coin could actually be worth. The United States 5-cent coin has been a part of American currency for over a century, but the 1991 nickel holds its own special place in numismatic history. As with many coins, the design is important. On the obverse side of the 1991 nickel, you'll find a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and one of the key figures in the nation's founding. This design, created by Felix Schlag, has been a staple of the nickel since 1938. Jefferson's likeness represents the ideals of freedom, democracy, and the birth of a new nation. Flip the coin over, and you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, depicted on the reverse. This design has also been a constant feature of the Jefferson Nickel series, honoring Jefferson's legacy as an architect and visionary. Monticello stands as a symbol of his life and works, and it adds a sense of historical richness to this already significant coin. But while the 1991 nickel may seem like an ordinary coin at first glance, there's something special about this year's issue that's made it a target for collectors. In fact, it's a year where a rare minting error occurred that has turned some 1991 nickels into highly sought-after treasures. You might not realize it just by looking at a typical 1991 nickel, but there's a variation of this coin that could be worth much more than its face value. This rare variety is known as the 1991 double die error. Now, don't worry if you're not familiar with this term. It's a type of minting flaw that occurs when a coin's die strikes the blank planchet multiple times. In the case of the 1991 nickel, this error results in a noticeable doubling of certain features on the coin, particularly the date and sometimes the letters in Liberty or In God We Trust. The doubling effect can make these letters and numbers appear blurry, thickened, or split, creating a distinct visual effect. This happens because the die wasn't properly aligned during the minting process, which resulted in the impression being struck more than once. The 1991 double-die nickel is highly coveted by collectors, and finding one in excellent condition is like striking gold. While most 1991 nickels are worth just 5 cents, the double-die version can fetch a price that would make any coin collector's eyes widen. The key to its value lies in the rarity of the error, as only a limited number of these double-die coins were produced. So, how do you spot a 1991 double-die nickel? Well, the first thing to do is carefully inspect the date. If you notice that the numbers in 1991 appear to have a doubled effect, meaning the digits look like they've been struck twice, overlapping or shifting, then you may have found a rare and valuable coin. The best places to look for doubling are often around the numbers in the date, and sometimes in the inscriptions along the rim of the coin, like Liberty or In God We Trust. Another thing to keep in mind is the condition of the coin. Coins that have been well preserved are worth far more than those that show significant wear and tear. When it comes to error coins, collectors will pay a premium for pieces that are in mint condition, or at least close to it. So, if you find a 1991 nickel that has the doubling effect and is in excellent shape, you might be sitting on a hidden gem. What makes this coin even more valuable is that, unlike some other errors, the 1991 double die is a relatively well-known variety among collectors. Many people actively search for this particular flaw, which only increases the demand for these coins. With more collectors becoming aware of the value of these error coins, it's no surprise that prices for high-quality 1991 double-die nickels have been on the rise. Now, let's talk numbers. How much could a 1991 double-die nickel be worth? Well, if you find a 1991 nickel in near-perfect condition, with visible doubling on the date and inscriptions, you could be looking at a coin worth upwards of $31,000. Yes, you heard that right, $31,000 for a single 5-cent coin. It's hard to believe, but when you consider the rarity of these error coins and the fact that they're in such high demand, the value makes sense. If you happen to have one of these rare coins in your collection or come across it in your spare change, it could be your ticket to a small fortune. So, if you're out there searching through your coins or just going about your day, keep an eye out for any 1991 nickels that might have the double die error. Even though they're not common, finding one could be a game changer for your collection. And if you do find one, be sure to have it professionally graded and authenticated so you can fully understand its worth. As always, the world of coin collecting is filled with surprises and treasures waiting to be discovered. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, there's always something new and exciting to uncover. And who knows, the next time you reach into your pocket, you might just pull out a coin worth thousands of dollars. Top 4, we've got an exciting discovery to share with you, a coin that you might find tucked away in your collection or even in your spare change. That's right, we're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from 1985, better known as the Jefferson Nickel. While most of us may think of this coin as just a small part of our everyday transactions, some 1985 nickels could actually be worth a lot more than just 5 cents. Stick around until the end because you'll be amazed at how much these coins can be worth. The 1985 Jefferson Nickel is part of a long-running series that first debuted in 1938. The design of this coin features the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse. This well-known design, created by artist Felix Schlag, has become one of the most recognizable images on American currency. Jefferson, who was instrumental in drafting the Declaration of Independence and expanding the United States with the Louisiana Purchase, continues to symbolize the values of liberty, democracy, and a growing nation through this coin. On the reverse side of the 1985 nickel, you'll find the image of Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. Monticello has been a symbol of Jefferson's legacy, his architectural genius, and his contribution to the young country. The design is simple yet elegant, and it reflects Jefferson's influence and importance in the history of the United States. At first glance, the 1985 Jefferson Nickel doesn't seem all that remarkable. It's another year in a long series of similar coins. But for numismatists, those passionate collectors of rare coins, there's something about the 1985 nickel that makes it special. As is the case with many years of US coins, there are certain errors or unique variations that make some coins far more valuable than others. And this is where the 1985 nickel stands out. While most 1985 nickels are worth just their face value of 5 cents, there's a particular version of this coin that has caught the attention of collectors, the 1985 double die error. So what exactly is a double die error, and why does it make a 1985 nickel so valuable? A double die error occurs when the die used to strike a coin is misaligned or improperly set, resulting in the design being imprinted onto the coin multiple times. This can create a doubling effect where the features of the coin, such as the date, letters, or even parts of the design, appear blurry, thickened, or duplicated. In the case of the 1985 Jefferson Nickel, the doubling can be seen most clearly on the date and sometimes in the lettering, like Liberty or In God We Trust. This error is relatively rare, which makes the 1985 double die nickel incredibly desirable to collectors. Even though the mint produced millions of 1985 nickels, only a small number of them display this unique error. Because of its rarity and the fact that error coins are highly sought after in the numismatic world, a 1985 double die nickel can command a price far beyond its face value. So, how do you identify a 1985 double die nickel? The key is to look closely at the date. If you examine the 1985 on the obverse and notice that the digits are doubled, you may have found an error coin. The most prominent doubling usually occurs on the lower part of the 8 and the upper part of the 5 in the date. In some cases, you may also spot doubling on other parts of the coin, such as the words Liberty or the motto In God We Trust. If you notice any of these doubling effects, congratulations, you've just discovered a rare coin. Of course, finding one of these error coins is just the first step. The next thing you'll want to consider is the condition of the coin. The more pristine the coin, the more valuable it becomes. Coins that are in uncirculated or mint condition, free from scratches, dents, or discoloration, are much more sought after than those that have been worn down by years of circulation. If you find a 1985 nickel with the doubling effect and it's in excellent condition, it's possible that you found a real treasure. Now, let's get to the really exciting part. How much is a 1985 double die nickel worth? While a regular 1985 nickel will only net you 5 cents, a 1985 double die nickel in great condition has been known to sell for an astounding price. If you're lucky enough to own one of these error coins, you could see it valued at up to $43,000, yes, that's right, $43,000 for a single nickel. That might sound unbelievable, but it's true. Error coins like the 1985 double die nickel are highly prized in the world of numismatics, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for these rare finds. Whether you're looking to sell your coin or simply add it to your collection, you'll want to make sure it's properly authenticated and graded by a professional so you can fully understand its worth. Now, you might be wondering where to find one of these rare 1985 double die nickels. While they're certainly not easy to come by, they do turn up from time to time in coin shops, online auctions, and even in personal collections. Some collectors have stumbled upon them in their spare change, while others may have inherited them from family members who collected coins. No matter where you find it, if you come across a 1985 double die nickel, take the time to carefully examine it. It could be worth a small fortune. Coin collecting is an exciting and rewarding hobby, full of surprises and hidden treasures. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, there's always something new to discover in the world of rare coins. So, next time you're going through your coin jar or looking at your collection, make sure to keep an eye out for any 1985 nickels with the double die error. Top 5, we have a truly exciting coin to talk about, one that could be hiding in plain sight in your collection, or perhaps even in your spare change. We're diving into the world of the 1964 United States 5-cent coin, or as it's commonly known, the Jefferson Nickel. This coin may seem like just another small piece of currency, but believe it or not, there's something extraordinary about this particular year that has sent collectors into a frenzy. Stick around until the end because you'll be shocked at just how much this 5-cent coin could actually be worth. Let's start with a bit of history. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, and since then, it has undergone a few changes. But the 1964 version of this nickel stands out for a number of reasons. It's part of a series that carries the image of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse. Jefferson's likeness is one of the most iconic in American coinage, and it's been featured on the nickel for decades. His contributions to the founding of the United States, especially as the author of the Declaration of Independence, make his image a fitting representation of the nation's values. On the reverse side of the 1964 nickel, we find the beautiful depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. Monticello isn't just a symbol of Jefferson's life, it also represents his legacy as an architect and visionary. The design, created by Felix Schlag, has been a mainstay on the nickel for many years, and it continues to serve as a reminder of Jefferson's influence on the United States. While the 1964 Jefferson nickel is widely recognized and remains a significant part of American currency, what makes this particular coin so valuable to collectors isn't necessarily its design. It's the rare errors and unique characteristics that some 1964 nickels possess. Over the years, certain years and mintings of coins have produced small quantities of rare errors during the minting process, and these error coins are what make the 1964 Jefferson nickel truly remarkable. One of the most sought-after varieties of the 1964 nickel is the D mintmark variety. The mintmark D is an indicator that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint, but not all 1964 nickels with this mintmark are created equal. Some of these coins were struck with a rare and unique error that gives them significant value. This error is known as a die chip or die crack error, which occurs when part of the die used to strike the coin breaks or becomes damaged during the minting process. This damage results in small but distinctive imperfections on the coin's surface. These imperfections can include tiny chips or cracks in the design, and they are often located near the rim or around specific details, such as the date or the portrait of Jefferson. These error coins are highly prized by collectors because they're unique, and finding one in excellent condition can be incredibly rare. While most 1964 nickels are worth just a few cents, the value of these error varieties can skyrocket, especially when the condition is right. If you happen to come across a 1964 nickel that shows these imperfections, it could be your ticket to a surprising discovery. But what about the 1964 nickel in general? Even if it doesn't have any minting errors, it's still a coin worth considering. The 1964 Jefferson nickel is part of a year that marked a time of economic change in the United States. In fact, 1964 was the year when the U.S. government decided to discontinue silver in most of its coins, replacing it with a copper-nickel alloy. This makes the 1964 nickel one of the last to contain any silver content, which gives it a certain historical significance. While this fact doesn't necessarily increase its monetary value, it adds to the overall appeal for collectors who appreciate the history and context behind the coin. Now, let's get to the part that you've been waiting for. How much could a 1964 Jefferson nickel with a rare minting error be worth? As we mentioned, most 1964 nickels are valued at face value, or around 5 cents. However, certain varieties, especially those with the die chip or die crack error, can fetch a much higher price. When these rare error coins are in near-perfect condition, they can be worth a staggering amount. In fact, a 1964 Jefferson nickel with the right minting error has been known to sell for up to $73,000, that's right, $73,000 for a single nickel. It's hard to believe, isn't it? But when you consider the rarity of these error coins and how few of them are in circulation, it makes sense why collectors are willing to pay such a premium for them. Error coins are incredibly fascinating to collectors because they represent a mistake in the production process that makes the coin stand out from the rest of its counterparts. If you think you might have one of these valuable coins in your collection, here are a few tips for identifying it. First, examine the coin closely for any signs of damage in the design, especially around the date, the mintmark, or Jefferson's portrait. Look for tiny cracks, chips, or double impressions, these are the hallmarks of the error. If you find any of these features, your coin could be a rare gem. The next step is to have the coin professionally graded and authenticated by a numismatic expert. They can help determine its exact value and confirm whether it's truly a rare error coin. Remember, condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. Coins that are well preserved, with minimal wear, are much more valuable than those that have been circulated for decades. If you find a 1964 nickel with an error and it's in mint condition, you could be looking at a coin worth thousands of dollars, perhaps even tens of thousands. Coin collecting is an exciting and rewarding hobby that can be full of unexpected treasures. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, there's always something new to learn and discover. And who knows, the next time you check your change or go through your coin collection, you might find that the 1964 Jefferson nickel you've been overlooking is worth far more than just 5 cents. Top 6. We're talking about a relatively modern coin, the United States 5-cent coin from 1994. But don't be fooled by its ordinary appearance, because this little nickel could be worth way more than you might expect. I'm talking about a coin that could fetch a serious amount of money, depending on its condition and a rare error that makes it incredibly valuable. Stick with us to the end to find out just how much this unassuming nickel could be worth today. Now, let's dive into a bit of background on the 1994 nickel. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation for decades, and it's one of the most widely recognized coins in the United States. The coin features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, designed by Felix Schlag. This iconic image has graced the obverse of the nickel since 1938, and it's become a symbol of the country's founding ideals. On the reverse of the 1994 nickel, we see the depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. Monticello has been featured on the reverse of the nickel since 1938 as well, serving as a tribute to Jefferson's life and his legacy as both an architect and an influential figure in American history. It's simple, elegant, and it connects the coin to the historical context of the U.S. and Jefferson's pivotal role in shaping the nation. At first glance, a 1994 Jefferson nickel may not seem special or unique. After all, it was produced in large quantities, and many of these coins are still circulating today. However, like many coins, there are always hidden treasures to be found, especially when it comes to error coins. And that's exactly what makes certain 1994 nickels incredibly valuable. One of the most sought-after varieties of the 1994 nickel is a specific error known as the double die variety. A double die error happens during the minting process, where the coin's design is struck more than once, resulting in a doubling effect on certain parts of the coin's features. In the case of the 1994 nickel, the doubling typically occurs on the date, 1994, as well as the lettering and sometimes even Jefferson's portrait. This error is not something you'd normally notice at first glance, but if you examine the coin closely, especially the digits of the date, you might spot some doubling. The numbers may appear to have been struck twice, giving them a blurry or thickened look. The best way to identify a double die error is by carefully inspecting the coin under a magnifying glass or using a loupe, especially the areas around the date and inscriptions like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Now, let's talk about why this error makes the 1994 nickel so valuable. Most of the 1994 nickels are still worth only 5 cents. However, when you find a nickel with the double die error, especially in excellent condition, you're looking at something far more precious. Error coins are prized by collectors because they're unique. There are no other coins like them. These types of coins are incredibly rare, and the demand for them is high, which naturally drives up their value. So, how much is a 1994 doubled die nickel worth? Well, if you've come across one of these error coins and it's in near-perfect condition, it could be worth a staggering $30,000. Yes, you heard that right, $30,000 for a single 5-cent coin. That might sound unbelievable, but when you consider how rare these error coins are, it makes sense. There are only a limited number of 1994 nickels with the double die error in circulation, and as collectors search high and low for these treasures, the value continues to climb. If you think you've got one of these valuable coins in your possession, the next step is to get it properly authenticated. Having the coin graded by a professional will help confirm whether it's a true double die error, and it will also give you an accurate sense of its value. Coins in pristine condition can fetch the highest prices, so it's essential to take good care of any error coins you find. Now, you might be wondering how you can find a 1994 double die nickel or any other valuable error coin. While it's not easy to come by these rare coins, it's definitely worth checking your change or going through your coin collection. You never know what you might stumble upon. Some collectors have found rare error coins just by carefully inspecting their spare change, so it's always worth taking the time to look through your coins with a magnifying glass. In the world of coin collecting, there's always a sense of excitement and discovery. For every coin you come across, there's the potential for it to be worth far more than you ever imagined. And the 1994 nickel is a perfect example of that. Most people wouldn't think twice about tossing a 1994 nickel into their pocket or spending it, but for a keen-eyed collector, that same nickel could be the key to a small fortune. Coin collecting is more than just a hobby, it's an adventure, and sometimes, it's about the thrill of finding hidden treasures in places you least expect. Whether you're new to collecting or have been at it for years, it's always a good idea to keep an eye out for these rare and valuable coins. Who knows, you might be sitting on a small fortune right now. Top 7, as we uncover the hidden potential of a coin that may be sitting right in your pocket right now. We're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from 1987, commonly known as the Jefferson Nickel. It may seem like just another ordinary coin, but stick with us because by the end of this video, you'll be blown away by how much this humble nickel could actually be worth. Let's take a quick trip back in time. The Jefferson nickel has been around since 1938, and over the years, it has undergone some changes. The coin features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. This iconic image, designed by Felix Schlag, is one of the most recognizable on American currency, and Jefferson's contributions to the country, most notably his role in drafting the Declaration of Independence, are honored through this coin. On the reverse side of the 1987 nickel, we find the familiar design of Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. Monticello has become symbolic of Jefferson's legacy, showcasing his architectural brilliance and his lasting influence on the nation. The design of the nickel is simple but powerful, with both sides telling a story of history and heritage. At first glance, a 1987 Jefferson nickel might not seem special. After all, it was a coin produced in large quantities, and many of these coins are still circulating today. But as with most coins, there are always hidden treasures, especially when it comes to rare minting errors. And that's where things get interesting. You see, certain years of the Jefferson Nickel series have produced coins with rare and unique characteristics, and the 1987 nickel is no exception. While most of the 1987 nickels are worth just their face value of 5 cents, there are a few rare varieties that make this particular year worth paying attention to. One such variety is the double die error, which has been one of the most sought-after mistakes in the world of coin collecting. What exactly is a double die error, and why does it make the 1987 nickel so valuable? Well, a double die error occurs when the design on a coin is struck more than once by the minting die. This misalignment causes certain parts of the design to appear doubled, creating a blurry or thickened effect. In the case of the 1987 Jefferson nickel, the most noticeable doubling is typically seen on the date and the inscriptions like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." If you look closely, you might see that the numbers in the date or the lettering appear slightly off, as if they were struck twice. This type of error is rare, and finding one in excellent condition is even rarer. Error coins are incredibly valuable to collectors because they are unique, and once they're discovered, they can't be replicated. The 1987 double die nickel is no exception. If you happen to have one of these error coins, it could potentially be worth much more than you ever imagined. But how do you know if you have one of these rare 1987 nickels? First, start by inspecting the date on the coin. The most obvious sign of a double die error is when the 1987 appears blurry or has a shadow-like doubling effect. The 8 and 7 in the date may seem like they're stacked or offset, which is a telltale sign of the error. You should also check the other inscriptions around Jefferson's portrait, such as "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," to see if there's any doubling. If you find a 1987 Jefferson nickel with these characteristics, congratulations. You might just have a rare error coin in your hands. But before you start celebrating, there's one more thing to keep in mind: the condition of the coin plays a major role in determining its value. Coins that have been circulated or damaged over time will be worth significantly less than those that are in near-perfect or uncirculated condition. Now, you're probably wondering just how much this error coin could be worth. A regular 1987 Jefferson nickel might only be worth 5 cents, but a 1987 double-die nickel in good condition could fetch an impressive price. If you've got a nickel in pristine condition with the error, you could be looking at a value of up to $39,000. That's right, $39,000 for a single 5-cent coin. It's hard to believe, but when you consider how rare these double-die coins are, it makes sense. Error coins like this are highly sought after by collectors who are always on the lookout for unique pieces to add to their collection. If you find a well-preserved 1987 double-die nickel, you could be holding onto a small fortune. So, how do you go about finding these rare coins? While it's not easy, it's definitely worth taking the time to inspect your coin collection, or even check your pocket change. You never know when you might come across a 1987 nickel with a double-die error hiding among your regular coins. Some collectors have found these rare coins by carefully sifting through their spare change, so it's always a good idea to take a closer look next time you handle your coins. If you think you found a 1987 double-die nickel, your next step should be to have it professionally authenticated. Grading services can help confirm the rarity of your coin and give you an accurate valuation. Professional grading can also help protect your coin's value by ensuring it's properly preserved. In the world of coin collecting, finding a rare error coin is like discovering a hidden treasure. The thrill of finding something so valuable in an unexpected place is what makes this hobby so exciting. And when it comes to the 1987 Jefferson nickel, if you're lucky enough to find one with the double-die error, you'll have a coin that's not only rare but worth a small fortune. Top 8. We're diving into a coin that could be sitting right in your pocket or maybe buried deep within your collection. That's right, we're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from 1971. It may look like just another standard nickel, but trust me, this little coin has a hidden value that could make it a treasure worth far more than its face value. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this particular coin is so highly sought after by collectors. First, let's talk about the history behind the 1971 Jefferson nickel. As many of you know, the Jefferson nickel has been a staple in American currency for decades. Introduced in 1938, it features the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse. Designed by Felix Schlag, Jefferson's likeness has become synonymous with American history and values. His influence on the country, especially through his role in writing the Declaration of Independence, makes his image a fitting representation on a coin that circulates daily across the nation. On the reverse side of the 1971 nickel, you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. This beautiful depiction of Monticello has been on the back of the nickel since its inception. Monticello isn't just a symbol of Jefferson's personal life, but also a nod to his architectural genius. The intricate design of the building, along with the elements of the coin itself, makes the 1971 Jefferson nickel a stunning piece of history. So, what makes the 1971 nickel so special? Well, while this coin was issued in large quantities and is relatively common in circulation, there's something hidden within the minting process that makes certain 1971 nickels incredibly valuable. Like many coins, some 1971 nickels were struck with an error that can significantly increase their value. The most coveted of these error coins is a rare variety known as the 1971 double-die obverse nickel. If you're unfamiliar with this term, don't worry. Let me break it down. A double-die error happens when the design on a coin is struck more than once, causing certain parts of the design to appear doubled or blurry. This can occur due to a misalignment during the minting process, and it's a mistake that's highly sought after by coin collectors. The doubling effect can often be seen in areas like the date, lettering, and in some cases, even Jefferson's portrait. On the 1971 nickel, the double die error is typically most noticeable in the date itself. If you carefully examine the 1971 on the coin, you might notice that the numbers look doubled or have a shadowed effect, especially the 1 and 7. This double die feature can make the coin stand out among a sea of ordinary nickels, making it a valuable find. Now, you might be wondering why this particular error is so important. The key lies in the rarity of the coin. Although millions of 1971 nickels were produced, only a small fraction of those carry the double die error. Even rarer is finding one in excellent condition, free from scratches or wear. Coins with these errors, in pristine condition, are prized by collectors because of their uniqueness. The more uncirculated and well-preserved the coin, the higher its value. But how much is a 1971 double die obverse nickel worth? You may be surprised to learn that these rare error coins can fetch a significant amount of money. When in mint condition and graded properly, a 1971 nickel with this doubling error can be worth an astonishing $65,000. Yes, you heard that right, $65,000 for a single 5-cent coin. That's the kind of value we're talking about. The rarity of this error, combined with the demand among collectors, has pushed the value of these coins sky high. Imagine finding one of these nickels tucked away in your coin jar or hidden among your old change. It could be worth enough to change your life. If you think you've stumbled upon a 1971 doubled die obverse nickel, the next step is to have it authenticated and graded. Professional grading services can help determine if your coin is indeed a rare error variety and give you a more accurate valuation. The condition of the coin is crucial, as the better the preservation, the higher the price. So how can you identify a 1971 double die obverse nickel? Start by examining the date closely. Look for signs of doubling in the numbers 1 and 7 or around the letters on the coin. The more pronounced the doubling, the more likely it is that you found a valuable error coin. The best way to check for these errors is by using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to get a closer look. Now, finding one of these rare error coins is not an everyday occurrence, and it may take some time and patience. But the payoff can be huge if you're lucky enough to spot one. Some collectors have found error coins in their everyday change, so it's always a good idea to take a second look at your nickels, especially those from older years like 1971. Collecting coins can be an exciting and rewarding hobby, and discovering rare pieces like the 1971 double die obverse nickel can make the journey even more thrilling. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting, the world of coins holds many hidden treasures waiting to be found. So, next time you're sorting through your change, keep an eye out for that 1971 Jefferson nickel. You never know, you might be holding onto something worth a small fortune. If you're lucky enough to find one in great condition, your 5-cent coin could turn into a $65,000 treasure. Top 9, we have something truly special to talk about, the United States 5-cent coin from 1974. You may think of it as just another nickel, but trust me, this little coin is anything but ordinary. By the end of this video, you'll see why this 5-cent piece could be worth a lot more than its face value. So sit tight as we uncover the story behind this unique coin and the hidden treasure it could hold. The 1974 Jefferson Nickel, like all coins from the U.S. Mint, has its roots in history. The Jefferson Nickel was introduced in 1938 and has been a staple of American currency ever since. The coin features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, designed by artist Felix Schlag. Jefferson is one of the most influential figures in American history, and his likeness on the nickel represents the nation's ideals of liberty and freedom. On the reverse of the 1974 nickel, you'll find a depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. Monticello is a symbol of Jefferson's legacy, not just as a president, but also as an architect. The design of the building is an elegant tribute to Jefferson's passion for architecture and his commitment to shaping the nation's future. The reverse design has remained largely unchanged since 1938, making it one of the longest-running designs on US coins.so. You might be wondering, what makes the 1974 Jefferson nickel so valuable in the world of coin collecting? It all boils down to a rare error that has made certain 1974 nickels highly sought after by collectors. While most of these nickels are still in circulation and worth only 5 cents, a small number of them were struck with a special mistake, double die error, that can make them worth far more than you might expect. For those who may not be familiar with what a double die error is, let me explain. A double die error happens during the minting process when the die used to strike the design onto the coin shifts slightly, causing some parts of the design to appear doubled. This can affect various elements of the coin, such as the date, the lettering, and even the portrait of Jefferson himself. When this happens, it creates a noticeable doubling effect, which makes the coin stand out from the rest. In the case of the 1974 Jefferson nickel, the most common feature to show doubling is the date. If you closely examine the 1974 on a nickel, you may notice that the numbers appear to be doubled, or perhaps there's a slight shadow around the edges of the digits. This doubling effect is what makes these coins incredibly valuable. It's a subtle error that's easy to miss, but when you catch it, you found something truly special. Now, you may be asking, how much is a 1974 doubled die nickel worth? While most 1974 nickels are worth just 5 cents, those with the double die error are worth a lot more. In fact, if you happen to find one of these rare coins in pristine condition, it could be worth as much as $59,000, that's right, $59,000 for a single 5-cent coin. This might sound unbelievable, but when you consider how rare these error coins are, it makes sense. The 1974 double die nickel is highly sought after by collectors, and the value continues to rise as more people learn about it and look for it in their collections. If you think you've come across a 1974 double die nickel, the next step is to inspect the coin closely. The most obvious place to look is the date. Check to see if the numbers, 1974, appear doubled or if there are any shadows or offsets around the digits. You should also check the inscriptions around Jefferson's portrait, as the doubling can appear in the word liberty and the phrase, "In God we trust." It's crucial to examine the coin carefully, and the best way to do this is by using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Once you've identified the double die error, you should have the coin professionally graded and authenticated. Having your coin graded by a professional can give you a better idea of its value and ensure that you're getting the best possible price if you decide to sell it. The condition of the coin is vital, as coins in mint condition are always worth more than those that have been heavily circulated or damaged over time. Now, while finding a 1974 double die nickel may seem like a rare occurrence, it's not impossible. Many collectors have found these valuable error coins in their everyday change. So next time you're sorting through your spare change or going through your coin collection, take a closer look at your 1974 nickels. You never know, you could be holding on to a hidden gem. Coin collecting is an exciting hobby, and part of the fun is the thrill of discovering something valuable in unexpected places. With so many coins in circulation, there's always a chance that one of them could turn out to be worth far more than you ever imagined. The 1974 Jefferson nickel is a perfect example of that. Most people would never guess that a simple nickel could be worth a small fortune, but for those who know what to look for, this coin is a true treasure. So, if you've been keeping an eye out for rare coins or are just starting to get into the world of collecting, don't forget to check your 1974 nickels. You could be looking at a coin worth $59,000. Top 10 and last coin. We're diving into the world of rare US coins, and what we have for you is truly amazing. Today, we're talking about the 1990 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it may look like just another nickel, but if you dig a little deeper, you'll find that this seemingly ordinary coin can actually be worth a small fortune. Stick with me to discover why this specific 1990 nickel is causing a stir among collectors, and how much it could potentially be worth today. The Jefferson nickel has been a part of American currency for decades, and for good reason. First introduced in 1938, the coin has featured the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, designed by artist Felix Schlag. Over the years, the Jefferson nickel has undergone some subtle changes, but the essence of the design has remained the same. Jefferson's image on the obverse side symbolizes the nation's values of freedom and independence, and his contributions to the country are celebrated every time this coin is used. The reverse of the Jefferson nickel features a depiction of Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. This elegant structure serves as a tribute to Jefferson's architectural genius and his lasting legacy in American history. The Monticello design has been on the back of the nickel since the coin's inception, making it one of the most enduring coin designs in U.S. history. It's a design that speaks to Jefferson's connection to both the land and the ideals of the young United States. But what makes the 1990 Jefferson nickel so special? While most of these coins are still in circulation and worth only 5 cents, certain varieties of the 1990 nickel are highly sought after by collectors, and the value of these coins can be staggering. So what sets these 1990 nickels apart from the rest? The answer lies in a rare and coveted error, double die variety that can make these coins worth far more than their face value. You may be asking, what is a double die error, and why is it so important in coin collecting? A double die error happens when the design on a coin is struck more than once during the minting process, causing some parts of the design to appear doubled. This misalignment of the die during the coin's production results in a distinctive blurry or shadowed effect on certain elements of the coin, such as the date, the lettering, or the portrait itself. For collectors, these double die coins are highly desirable because they are unique and offer a glimpse into the rare imperfections that occur during the minting process. Now, for the 1990 Jefferson nickel, the double die error is often most visible in the date, 1990. The numbers might appear thicker, doubled, or offset, giving the coin an unmistakable look. In some cases, the error can also be seen in the word liberty or in the phrase, "In God we trust." These subtle yet noticeable features are what make the 1990 nickel stand out and why it's become such a prized find in the world of coin collecting. You might be wondering how much a 1990 double die Jefferson nickel could actually be worth. If you happen to find one of these error coins in excellent condition, you could be looking at a hefty payday. While most 1990 nickels are still worth their face value of 5 cents, a 1990 double die nickel could fetch as much as $36,000. That's right, $36,000 for a single 5-cent coin. It's hard to believe, but when you consider how rare these double die coins are, the value starts to make sense. Collectors are always on the lookout for unique coins, and a 1990 nickel with a double die error is a rare find. The fact that only a small number of these error coins exist, combined with the increasing interest in coin collecting, means the value of these coins is only going to rise. If you think you might have stumbled upon a 1990 double die nickel, it's time to take a closer look. Inspect the date, 1990, carefully to see if the numbers appear doubled or offset. You should also check the inscriptions around Jefferson's portrait, especially the word liberty and the phrase, "In God we trust," for any signs of doubling. Using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe will help you spot these details more easily. Once you've identified a potential double die coin, your next step should be to have it professionally graded and authenticated. A professional grading service can help confirm whether the coin is truly a rare error and give you an accurate valuation based on its condition. Coins that are in excellent, uncirculated condition can be worth much more than those that have been heavily circulated or damaged. If you do find a 1990 double die nickel, it's a good idea to hang on to it or even consider selling it through trusted channels. There's a growing market for rare coins, and collectors are always eager to add a coin like this to their collections. But make sure to have it properly authenticated first, as the value of a coin can increase significantly when it's verified by a professional grading service. Coin collecting is an exciting and rewarding hobby, and part of the thrill is discovering hidden treasures in your pocket change or old coin jars. The 1990 Jefferson nickel is a perfect example of how a seemingly ordinary coin can hold tremendous value. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, taking the time to check your coins and spot errors can lead to a rewarding discovery. So, the next time you come across a 1990 nickel, be sure to take a moment and check the date closely. You could very well be holding onto a coin worth $36,000. If you're lucky enough to find a 1990 double-die nickel in excellent condition, you could have a rare treasure in your hands. Thanks for joining me today as we explored the hidden value of the 1990 Jefferson Nickel. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more exciting coin discoveries. Happy collecting, and who knows, your next coin might just be worth a fortune.